What if you could communicate with animals, and if animals could communicate with you? Only this time, thanks to the wonders of technology, you essentially become an animal clanker? No way, that sounds wrong. Disney's D23 Expo has wrapped for 2025, announcing all sorts of new and exciting ideas from varying fatigued franchises. And today we're going to be looking at Pixar, which is once again suffering from sequel syndrome. Sharing the cinematic slate for what to expect from the studio over the next few years, we have 5 films to discuss, 3 of which are sequels, that I genuinely feel are a huge risk for the studio, in the sense that they are perhaps playing it safe. And this is after the negative response to some of the more recent original titles, one of which being Elemental, and more recently Elio. And having said that, the audience response will likely not go the way they think it will. People are crying out for original films, astonished that something like Toy Story 5 even exists, and I feel this begs the question, is the studio creatively bankrupt, or just struggling to find that spark of originality they once had? If the behind-the-scenes meddling of Elio is anything to go by, it looks like the original films are doomed to fail from the get-go. We'll go in order, starting with Hoppers from the creator of We Bare Bears, Daniel Chang, and this latest original offering asks the question, what if you could communicate with animals, and if animals could communicate with you? Through a mind swap process, you enter an artificial animal body, in this case a robot beaver, where you can experience wildlife from the point of view of a wild animal. And I like how we are still sticking with Pixar's usual anthropomorphic characteristics, animals with human qualities, but there's a focus on how the main character Mabel enters this unknown world using Avatar-inspired tech.
This is like Avatar.
This is nothing like Avatar!
From what we've seen so far, this looks like a relatively inoffensive and basic premise for a fun animated feature. It's reassuring that the trailer hasn't given away too much, but the hint at Mabel going rogue in a mechanical beaver body has piqued my curiosity. Hopefully, it won't end like Avatar with this character choosing the beaver life and living amongst the animals. That would be a bit strange, but I like the character designs. Mabel's Goku hair looks fantastic. I'd say the attention to detail with the fur and fibers, for example, looks gorgeous on every animal character. We've come a hell of a long way from Pixar animators struggling with hair physics back when The Incredibles was in production, and I am looking forward to seeing how Hoppers performs, both critically and commercially, which is due to release in March 2026. And it's amusing how there's already a trailer for this film 8 months in advance, which may have something to do with Elio being a box office bomb. I didn't even know that film was a thing until I started prepping for a Pixar movie collection video not too long ago. Considering how the first Elio teaser trailer dropped about 2 years ago and only got 11 million views compared to Hoppers securing 7 million in just over a month, I think this is purely based on animation appeal and how the stylized beam mouth approach, as it was called, was starting to get repetitive. Personally, I found that whole argument blown way out of proportion. Only 3 titles can even fit into that category. Then again, Pixar is known for its unique characters that go in tandem with stylistic designs that remain memorable. They stand out for one reason or another, but nothing about Elio screamed unique in my opinion. It just looks like a run-of-the-mill generic animated movie. It's not harmful, but does it have the lasting impact that other Pixar films are capable of provoking? No, sadly not. Next up we have Toy Story 5, where the threat of iPad kids is on the horizon. All these years later, I'm still not over the fact that Toy Story 4 exists. It's a movie we absolutely did not need. The trilogy is made up of heartfelt, timeless stories that many of us grew up with. What do these other movies scream? Cash cow, milk it for all it's worth until there's nothing left. And even then, why not parade the bones around for a bit longer? That's honestly how it feels. Toy Story 4 isn't a bad movie, it's just forgettable, and I have a feeling that the 5th installment is either going to fall into the same category or be much worse. There's currently no official trailer, but some footage was shown at D23 and later leaked online. If you're familiar with some of the original concepts for what could have been the Circle 7 version of Toy Story 3, the one that focused on a malfunctioning Buzz Lightyear, it feels like the 5th film may be taking some inspiration from those initial ideas. In this film, a wave of high-tech Buzz Lightyear variants emerge from a crashed shipping container. They're trapped on an island in the middle of nowhere, and they come across as Unga Bunga-style cavemen almost, surviving together in the wild with one similar goal, being that they must reach Star Command. Eventually, they build a means of escape and float away on a raft, and that's the last we see of them currently, and somehow I'm guessing that they will come across the toys that we know and love. And these Buzz Lightyear figures appear to be a villainous mass army, and being high-tech, which separates them from the classic Buzz Lightyear like our Buzz, I'm guessing that means they will be compatible with more modern technology. And this brings me to the main villain, a frog-themed tablet called Lilypad, who can apparently control the Buzz army. Another tech-based toy was shown off called Smarty Pants, and this is revealed to have been voiced by Conan O'Brien in the film, and for the moment, really that's all we know about these upcoming brand new characters. Overall, I don't know what to expect from this film because so far it just feels like it's capitalizing on traditional toys versus technology. If there's something new here that improves on that spin, then happy days, I'm all for it. I'd rather this film win me over and be a success rather than a stain on these beloved films. Having said that, I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic for now. In 2027, we are due another Pixar original from Enrico Casarosa, the director of Luca, that being Gatto, and we have some concept art showing a black cat in Venice, and a logo for the movie, but sadly we're quite limited on details for this film. A brief summary reads, indebted to a feline mob boss, Nero, the cat I'm assuming, finds himself forced to forge an unexpected friendship that may finally lead him to his purpose. Very vague, but I'm intrigued to see what the official art style will look like, and how the story will be further developed. Here's hoping studio interference won't dilute the story. On that subject, I mentioned this because of something Pixar Creative Chief Officer Pete Docter shared in a brief interview on the future scope of upcoming films by saying that the studio will focus on telling stories with, quote, clear mass appeal, rather than letting directors tell stories inspired by their experiences. And outright, I hate that idea, because to me that removes any form of individualism or artistic integrity. I understand how with films like Turning Red, for example, perhaps this was viewed as alienating part of the audience because of its subject matter, but the whole clear mass appeal thing, that screams a lack of uncertainty about what direction the studio is to pursue going forward. Experimental ideas now appear to be off the table, which results in falling back on previous success stories. Neatly segueing into more sequel territory, The Incredibles 3 was announced a little while ago, and it does make sense to revisit this world. I feel there's lots of story potential here with how the second film concluded, although Brad Bird is sadly not directing the film. He is penning the script at the very least, and most likely will be heavily involved in the film's production, but schedule conflicts appear to be the reason why he's unavailable to direct, and so instead Peter San will be taking the reins on this occasion. My biggest concern with switching out the director is that Brad Bird has such a uniquely stylized way of directing and framing shots that I just hope can be accomplished similarly in the third film. I also hope there's more originality in the villain department. I really did like The Incredibles 2, but the villain twist was way too predictable. I felt they could have maybe gotten away with making things more gritty, more adult. I remember seeing this movie in the cinema and feeling like that scene out of Billy Madison. This one was definitely for the adults that had waited the 14 years for it. It's a shame this wannabe horror movie villain was way more interesting as a concept than the actual antagonist, but who knows with the third film. I'm hopeful they will have some great ideas for what to expect villain-wise. Maybe even the Underminer could steal the spotlight, who knows. I hope he's featured in at least some capacity. I feel as well that a time jump with these characters could be more favourable. Aging up the kids, seeing a slightly older Jack balancing his powers could be a fascinating idea. And of course, Michael Giacchino needs to return to score the third film. Both Incredibles movies have impeccable soundtracks. Finally, we have a sequel I would have never predicted, and I will outright say until proven otherwise is not needed at all. Coco 2. The first film was a wonderful surprise. It remains in my personal top 5 favourite movies from Pixar. I'd arguably say it's very open and closed in terms of story, and that any attempt to further the original is just going to feel forced. What can they really do? Miguel returns to the other world again, for what exactly? He raises the dead somehow? Disrupts the afterlife? I genuinely feel like any idea for a Coco sequel would never top the original, but Pixar is welcome to prove me wrong. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video and borderline rant covering the upcoming slate of Pixar movies. I hope you folks enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave me a like down below. Let me know in the comments which films have you excited. Are you a fan of these sequel ideas? As always, I love hearing your thoughts and opinions, and for more content, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, DVD Review Studios.
Are you threatening me?